You know, I had a video all ready to go talking about a certain topic I wanted to talk about that really shows that Xbox continues to invest in not only games, but new studios. But all of that went flying out the window because a brand new interview came out with Xbox's Phil Spencer, who had a lot, and I mean a lot, to say about the gaming industry. But more importantly, he had a lot to say about the Xbox platform and what he promises to provide to the gamers that choose to game on Xbox. All in all, it's an amazing interview that really does paint a very clear picture of what Xbox has planned for not only this generation, but also the generations after the Xbox Series X. But not only that, he also talks about the launch of the Xbox Series X and how he found some disappointment in certain aspects of the launch, but also understands things change over time. Because as Xbox fans, we can all admit that the launch lineups for both the Series X and the PS5 are a little on the weak side of things, yet that doesn't change the fact that gamers still want to see promise for the future of their console. And with Bethesda coming over to the Xbox first-party family and with a bunch of other games coming down the pipeline, we can see that Xbox isn't messing around with this upcoming generation. And this is something that Phil Spencer talks about and mentions in this interview, that they want to keep a promise to gamers that they will provide us great content that will be best on the Xbox platform or discovered first on the Xbox platform. And not only that, he also mentions the launch lineup of games on the console, but also the Halo Infinite delay that might be best for the franchise as a whole. All in all, this is a pretty telling interview that shows that Xbox isn't trying to just bring out games to meet a deadline. Instead, they want to bring out high-rated games and games that are ready to launch. I feel like the days of bringing out broken games and games that are just not ready to launch are a thing of the past. Long gone are the days of Crackdown 3, which launched with a lot of problems, or the biggest corporate, the Halo Master Chief Collection, that launched in such a broken state that it still has a bad name attached to it. But most of all, I'm glad that Phil Spencer and Xbox are self-aware and understand the aspects of their platform that might be lacking. So let's get into this interview and discuss what it all means. And I have to say right now, this isn't all of the interview. This was a specific aspect of it because to me, it's one of the most important aspects. I'll try to cover the rest of the interview in other videos because there's a lot of information here. So let's get into what I think is the most important part of this interview. But first, like always, if you like the video, hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support is greatly appreciated. Alright, so let's get into this because honestly, there's been a lot of talk going around the Xbox Series X launch and the PS5 launch. A lot of people have enjoyed their consoles, but others have found certain aspects to complain about. But the biggest one on the Xbox side has to be the launch exclusives that are coming to the console. Now, I know a lot of people have been deep into the Assassin's Creed Valhalla along with other games coming to the Xbox platform, but there's still this sense that a game like Halo Infinite or some other first-party launch game could have really pushed the Xbox Series X launch in a much better position, which is a question the interviewer brought up here. To launch a console, you don't just need hardware, you obviously need big games. Sony launched the PS5 with Spider-Man Miles Morales and Astro's Playroom, which takes full advantage of the advanced haptics on its new controller. I asked Phil how he's thinking about the role the titles play in a launch of these systems and how he feels about Halo Infinite being delayed to 2021. So before I go into the response from Phil Spencer, I do have to point out that this question is very fair to ask because I've seen a lot of people giving some negative feedback to people asking Xbox about the launch lineups. And as an Xbox gamer, I do have to admit that the launch lineup for Xbox isn't something I'm particularly happy about. But since I do have a PS5 and an Xbox Series X, I'm able to experience all the great games that are on both systems, which right now is Sony Spider-Man Miles Morales, which I've put plenty of time into, and I can truly say it's a launch title I'm glad Sony decided to bring out. You throw in the free Astro's Playroom game, which I've put a lot of time in again, you can see that Sony really did want to launch the generation with some high quality games. And I didn't even mention Demon's Souls, which I'll be playing a little later when I have a bit more of a slowdown in games. Is Demon's Souls this massive game that I love and find to be a huge system seller? No, but I do see it as another huge game that's launching on a console that's trying to sell itself. And I have to admire the dedication from Sony, who have provided me as a customer massive games on their system. All of this is something I think Phil Spencer noticed, and something that I think he knew was going to happen once they had to delay Halo Infinite, which is what his response reiterates here when he says this. We were very public about Halo Infinite and our desire to have Halo at launch. I do think there's some great launch games that are there to go play that maybe get lost in this dialogue about who's got the better launch lineup, which is a downside. I'm playing a lot of Tetris Effect from my friend and the team, and it's awesome. We wanted Halo at launch. We thought it would have been a real cultural movement for us as Xbox. Last time we had done that was the original Xbox and Halo CE. So let me just say that I understand the desire to bring Halo Infinite out on the launch of the Xbox Series X console. It would have been a monumental moment for the Xbox brand and honestly the launch of this generation. I know a lot of people that literally didn't buy an Xbox Series X because Halo got delayed. Now I know that's a very, very small percentage of people in the gaming world, but it still holds true that Halo would have changed the landscape of the launch games. But there is one other thing that Phil Spencer talks about here, and that's the third-party games that have come out. Games like Tetris Effect, which is a lot of fun and I've been playing for weeks and is on Game Pass, not to mention Assassin's Creed Valhalla. There's so many other games that have come out with so many great experiences. I think people put those games to the side because they want to concentrate on the first party games only, which if I'm being honest is the right gamers have. They can decide to buy a console because of the exclusives that are on that platform, and not having Halo on the Xbox at launch was a big hit to the launch of the console, which is something Phil Spencer says here. Halo was a miss on our part. I wouldn't change the decision based on the right game, a healthy situation for the team, and how they're working. Absolutely, it's something that we had planned for, Bonnie Ross, who runs the studio, and I, to have Halo there. In the long run, I think what's going to happen is we're going to get a better Halo game at a good time when people can actually get a console. I feel good about that. I think the game will be better for the time that we're giving it. I'm incredibly excited about the lineup, not only of Xbox Game Studios, but we've obviously also announced our intent to acquire ZeniMax and Starfield, and great games that Todd Howard and the team are working on, that people are going to go play on their Xbox. This is something that is great to see from a company. Self-awareness that you made a mistake and you accept that mistake. But also, it's great to see Xbox actually understand the positives you can get out of making those mistakes, which is what's happening with Xbox and Halo Infinite. One of those positives is obviously the fact that Halo Infinite needed extra time to get the game right, not just from a look standpoint, but more of a technical standpoint, and have a game launch with ray tracing on your next-gen consoles. Have the game launch without those little bugs we saw in the demo. The game needs to come out and be the best Halo we've seen in years. I say that because we haven't seen a Halo game in over 5 years, and the franchise is without a doubt the biggest franchise Xbox has. So to hear Phil Spencer talk about this launch and talk about having systems in stock in order to launch the Halo game does look good. But this doesn't solve the problem of a launch lineup that we really can't say could be much better. And I think it's something that Xbox fans are going to have to deal with, but also make sure that Xbox knows we want better. And it's something that I think the team at Xbox and Phil Spencer understand, especially with the comment he says here. From a business standpoint, I'm selling every console I can build. It's hard for me to point out how I would be selling more consoles today. I wouldn't be. There's also a fan promise, and that's not lost on me, that people want to see new great games that play on their platform that they purchase. That's a commitment that we believe in. We've made huge investments in our first party games and growing the amount of games that we can build that can be special on Xbox, that can be there for our Xbox fans, so that they feel like they made the right purchase. This is single-handedly the best comment I've seen from Phil Spencer ever. He cuts the fat and doesn't beat around the bush at all. He goes straight to the source of a gamer. He admits they needed to do better with their games and they need to provide those next-generation experiences to people that invest in their platform. Because let's be real, we buy these new systems so we can play games that push the hardware. And seeing Phil Spencer admit they need to provide those games to us is something that gamers should be excited about, especially when he mentions they want to make Xbox fans feel like they made the right purchase. That in and of itself is the single greatest line he could have said, because that shows they aren't content with people just buying their console. Instead, they want people to buy their console and stay on the console and play games on the Xbox platform. That's a shout out to the Xbox fans, especially those fans that have bought the Xbox Series X console and want the games that push the console to the max. And from what history has shown us, that push comes from first party studios, which is something that Phil Spencer mentions. He talks about the investment of the first party studios and how they want to get those games out for us, the gamers. And I'll close this video out with an awesome quote at the end of this excerpt from the interview that Phil Spencer said. Here's what he had to say. "I feel good, really good, the best I've ever felt about our roadmap. But yeah, it would have been really great to have Halo at launch. I have to admit, the launch might be light, but the future does look bright for Xbox. Let's hope they continue to push forward. But enough of what I think about all this, tell me what you think about all this. Do you agree with Phil Spencer's statements? Was Halo Infinite a huge miss for them? Is the commitment to us fans going to come in the form of exclusives? Does this show that Xbox is looking to make more exclusive first-party games? Are you happy they admit the launch was a mistake? When will we see big games come to the platform? What next-gen console are you getting first? Go down below and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support helps out the channel more than you know. And give me a follow on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing my latest videos. Plus, I love interacting with everyone there, so get on Twitter and let's talk about gaming. Also, follow me on Xbox Live. My gamer tag is Zalker87, just like my channel name. See what games I'm playing, and let's compete in achievements for the month. Right now, I'm playing Spider-Man Miles Morales. As you can see from the footage here, I'm loving this game. It's a lot of fun, and I want to beat this before I get into Valhalla, because like I've said before, Valhalla is just going to take over my life. I want to play this game and get through Spider-Man and then jump into Valhalla and just lose myself in there for hours on end, because that game looks so much fun and I miss Assassin's Creed. But go down below, what games are you playing? Are you working through your backlog, or are you playing some of these new games that have come out? Let me know down below, because I love talking games with everyone. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later!